Hey, John. Hello
Hey.
and welcome to Eat, Sleep, Code, the official Telerik podcast. But the first story is about Tesla. This was all over national news here in the States. They've had these sub-zero temperatures in Chicago, sub-zero Fahrenheit temperatures in Chicago,
Yep. Yep.
um, and Teslas don't like it. So they've got parking lots full of these things that they're having towed off because they can't charge them. So I guess there's some issue with the charging stations and the batteries, and they just can't connect and charge. Like it's just not working. So in the headlines here, it says we saw at least 10 cars get towed after running out of batteries and dying at a charging station in Chicago because they've got negative 20 and 30-degree F temperatures. Um, that's pretty extreme temperatures. And to be fair, we will be fair. I'm not going to totally pick on Tesla and EVs. I like the idea of EVs. I'm not trying to, dissuade anyone from them because gas cars get these problems too in the winter. Like I have a relative who's in the Michigan area, and they were saying that they have three vehicles, three gas vehicles. None of them will start. Like stuff just stops working at a certain temperature, John.
Yep. That's true. Being Canadian, I know that quite well. So it would get so cold when I
Yeah.
lived in Winnipeg, which is for those who don't know, Winnipeg is another name for in the middle of nowhere. I'm kidding, of course, but Winnipeg is smack dab in the middle of Canada. If you were to draw a map of Canada, right in the point right at the middle of it, you'd hit Winnipeg, and it would get so cold there that the tires would freeze and then flatten out because as your temperature drops, air pressure diminishes, and so yeah, there you go. Thanks. Air pressure diminishes, and so what would happen for cars in Winnipeg is the tire itself would be flat along the road. So you'd have
Yeah.
this little representation of a circle and then flat, and so you'd Fred Flintstone your way around the city while your tires got warmer. So yeah,
Yeah.
I know the experience of having to start a cold car.
And you can't really go like pump more air into that either. Like that's a problem. Like you try to fill it up when it's flat because it's cold and it's the air's compressed, so you're gonna get it overfilled by the time it warms up. So we get to run out and finagle our tires every now and then. Like they get weird pressure readings
There's
and
there's a
stuff.
there's a quote from one of my favorite comics, Lewis Black, who said, That's not Jack Frost nipping at your toes, you idiot. That's God saying, get out of here."
I love him. He retired, by the way. He just did his
Yes.
last tour. He said, one of my favorite comics of all time. All right. I don't have a segue for this. I'm sorry. Well, we'll go straight into actual tech news and talk a little bit about Alyssa Nichols' tweet that she posted. So, Alyssa Nichols, a coworker of mine, she does a lot of brilliant work with the Angular folks. So, if you want to know anything about the latest Angular uh, stuff, go ahead and follow her not only here on Code It Live, but on Twitter and social media stuff as well. She just posted a community update. So I guess there's all sorts of stuff shipping for the Angular 17. So they're up to version 17 now. They've got a new docs coming out. The new flow control syntax is here. I love how certain she is about it's in dev preview and stable at version 9 for sure.
Yep.
For sure. Deferred loading as well. Stable by version 19 as well. Um, the new flow control syntax, I jokingly say they adopted Blazor because they use like the at symbol with automatic escape. So they've kind of adopted like that in that Blazor syntax. They call it flow syntax, or sorry, not Blazor, but Razor syntax.
Yeah,
So
the new declarative block template syntax is it's basically an overhaul of the what's there, and sorry, not an overhaul, but it's a major enhancement, and
mhm.
it adds the use of like conditional statements like if then for switch statements, etc., within your templates. So
Yes, you'll see less of the ng if, ng, the star ng stuff, which I was never a fan of, and was one of the reasons why I didn't choose Angular most of the time. It's just it felt dirty, like taking an element and adding code to the element to make the page do something felt wrong so many ways. So I like this a lot better, and it would be nice to kind of revisit this at some point. Um, yeah, John, if you can, is your volume maxed out?
I will adjust it again.
It
See if
does sound
this
tad
makes it.
bit quiet.
All right.
There's some additional settings here in StreamYard as well that might help you pump that up a little bit.
I have pumped what is needed.
Alrighty. CLI updates are coming. Standalone is now stable for version 17. I don't know what standalone is. I don't keep up with Angular enough, I guess, to know what the context is on standalone. Server side and hydration are growing in popularity. So with Angular and a lot of the other frameworks, Blazor included, and React, all rediscovering that server-side rendering is efficient and awesome. So server-side rendering is back in Angular, or is present in Angular. There's a lot of goodness here, and
Yep.
she stuffed it all out in a nice tweet. We still call them tweet. Are they posts now? What do we call them now that it's
That's right.
not?
News articles. Sorry, I was
It's the
tweaking my
worst
volume.
rebranding, I swear.
Sorry, I was tweaking my volume there. I was going to jump in on the standalone thing. So,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I think this was introduced in Angular 14, and basically it's a feature that allows components to be created and used independently of
Okay.
modules. So, the way you would do this is you would just define your components with a standalone property. You'd set that to true, and then that would be okay. I gotta remember this now. It's been a while since I was Angular. This is in your component decorator, and then this allows you to basically simplify your authoring experience by reducing the need for ng modules and allowing your components to import their own dependencies directly. So standalone is a really nice way of developing your Angular applications, and they support things like lazy loading, and so components are like more in isolation that way. So
Nice. Yeah, that's a good feature. Along with the web news here, I figured this was a nice transition into a Chrome developer post here, since
yeah,
since Google puts out Angular, right?
yes,
So a little bit of Google news here.
yeah. So this
What's
is
new with WebGPU, John?
yeah. So they're adding WebGPU to, well, they've added WebGPU to Chrome on Android, which is huge because, as you know, if you're building hybrid apps, you can use WebView from Chrome, and apps now can leverage WebView. This is basically a framework that allows you to target the GPU running on, a variety of processors out there. So Android devices come in a variety of shapes and sizes, and so being able to target the GPU will save on battery life and allow you to target this framework, which is quote unquote universal across a variety of platforms. But this is big news. The fact that you can actually do web GPU framework targeting on Android, which is great. A bunch of other stuff that's been added to Chrome. Recently, I've noticed that the stability of Chrome has not been great. I don't know about you, but Chrome's been crashing on my wife's machine, and it's also been crashing for me. It's been hanging on certain documents being loaded. Now, arguably, I am not the best Chrome user. I have billions and billions of tabs open, but yeah, I think there's recent updates. I'm still a Chrome user. I will continue to be a Chrome user, but yeah, there you go. So that's the big update there.
Yeah, this is where you and I differ. I've moved to Edge because Chrome was causing too many issues. I was having audio issues while streaming that were stemming from Chrome itself. So I had to bail on Chrome. Chris DeMars is in chat from LinkedIn. What's up, Chris? How are you? Yeah, I like this web GPU stuff. I'm wondering if this will help with the AR and VR on the web,
Of course, you had to
because
go there.
of course I did. That's where I spend most of my day these days.
Hmm.
So I planned this show in VR today, John.
Nice.
Did you know that?
Good.
Speaking of the web, HTMX and Web Components, a perfect match. I've been hearing more and more about this HTMX uh, in and out of context of like different component libraries.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about this, John.
I think you were still showing the Chrome page, so
Go.
switch over there so
Ah,
folks can see
there
it.
we go. Sorry,
Yeah.
the
So
little
this is
thing I keep missing.
That's okay. So this was a post that was written back in December, actually earlier than that, but I just wanted to pick up on it. So HTMX is growing in popularity. It was developed originally by the intercooler library, and it's basically they wanted a more HTML centric approach to building out interactive web pages, and so it's kind of a middle finger to all the other frameworks that are out there, because they're too heavy on the complexity that those frameworks like React and Angular, etc., are complicated. They've gotten increasingly complicated, and they kind of take their own thing. So
Hmm.
this was HTMX has been around since I think 2019, 2020, I think, and basically gave a different approach to this. So this article kind of is an homage to the fact that HTMX combined with web components, which is part of our web platform API stack, whatever it is. It's in that same category as WebGPU, which is basically what APIs are available
Yeah,
in the native browser experience.
it's web
So
standard tech.
right. So web components are built around things like Shadow DOM, custom elements, HTML templates, and merging or utilizing that in sync with HTMX is seen as a big win. So there's a good synergy between these two technologies, and so this article goes in depth about this, especially when talking about the limitation of SPA components and using web components as an alternative, and keeping your framework relatively vendor agnostic, and yeah, lots and lots of things worth mentioning in this article. So I thought of this, and I thought it was worth discussing.
Yeah, it seems to be a pretty good little like micro framework. Um, I've seen it even being used in Blazor apps. People seem to really like it. I'm not even sure how it fits there, but I've seen people kind of gushing about it. But then again, every time there's a new JavaScript framework, you find that. So, you know, is it flavor of the week or is it something that's here to stay? We'll have to see.
Well, the thing that people like about it is the fact that you're adding attributes to standard HTML elements,
Yeah,
and so that
it's like
it
jQuery.
basically so it
You know,
yeah,
it's
like
not like
spackle on
jQuery.
top of a
I'm
yeah,
kidding.
I know, like spackle on top of a cracked wall. So if you're doing anything with like WebSockets or CSS transitions, etc., these things can be arguably a little bit easier to work with
Mhm.
via a framework like HTMX, and you know it's just a different way to cook, basically.
I like the summary up at the top. 17 minutes to read, but probably more to ponder and understand.
Nice.
It's a nice little intro. I like it. So we'll shift gears a little bit. It's a nice transition to some Windows related announcements. Um, there's another Windows Insider review build. What's important here, though, is they are relaunching the dev channel.
Oh, okay.
Uh, it's pretty big post here on all of the changes and whatnot.
Switch your
But
view.
yeah, thank you.
There you go.
So yeah, pretty big post of like what changes came in this preview. But one thing that kind of was highlighted here is the dev channel itself. So they've completely rebooted it. Um, and Windows insiders that are on this dev channel are pretty excited about the fact that they've relaunched this.
Yep.
So if you're a developer on Windows, this is something you may want to look at. especially if you're building, desktop apps for Windows, integrating with Windows APIs and systems and things. This is probably the place for you to be, right?
Yeah, arguably the closest I get to actually utilizing this is through the rants and ravings of Paul Thurrott,
Yeah,
basically talking about the Insiders program through various podcasts and articles. I don't involve myself with the Insiders program simply because I don't run Windows anymore. However, I was a member of the Insiders and Dev channel back in the day, way back when, and even when I was at Microsoft, I saw a lot of the stuff that was going on there, and I think my understanding, or based on this is again, this is like telephone. This is the story that I hear from
yeah,
various people that the Dev channel was effective, but there wasn't a lot of continuity over when things shipped. Features would just appear and then they would just disappear, and there was no rhyme or reason or documentation as to why, and so it became a chaotic environment. And so I think part of the reason why things like Dev Channel, etc., was taken away initially was because it was hard to manage, and that there wasn't clear communication, and also feedback was limited. You get that sort of distribution of people, like you get 1% of people giving good feedback and everyone else like just using the latest bits. So I'm glad they're rebooting it. That's great. I think that's an important thing to do. We'll see how it's getting managed going forward. So
yeah. This area, there's a nice graphic kind of explaining what each channel is for, like
mhm.
what type of user they're aiming for. I personally follow not only Paul Thurrott, but fellow MVP and friend of mine, Jeremy St. Clair. He gets really excited about this stuff and tweets some pretty cool links that I don't normally organically find. So, yeah, this is something he was really excited about. So I figured I would share with like-minded folks. Speaking of like-minded folks, .NET Rocks. Um, .NET Rocks is, of course, I think most .NET developers know about. But this episode, I just wanted to highlight because it's talking about .NET Aspire, and I think um, this is something that David Fowler is very excited about,
Yeah,
something he's been working on over at Microsoft. So I haven't got a chance to listen to this myself, but it is queued up, and I do plan on listening to it because I want to learn more about what they're doing with
switch your window.
Aspire.
Sorry, you're
Oh,
still showing me.
geez, I got to get good at this, John. You think this is my first podcast, folks?
That's fine.
First stream ever, I promise. I've never done this before in my life. Cut me some slack. Uh, so David Fowler has kind of been the pitch man for Aspire, and he's been blogging and tweeting about it, and now he's on .NET Rocks chatting about it. And what better folks to chat about it with than Carl and Richard over at .NET Rocks, right?
Yes,
Yeah. So
yes.
if you don't know what Aspire is, listen to the show. If you do know what it is and you want to learn about the roadmap and what they did in the past getting there, listen to the show. If you're not a .NET developer, then you might want to pass.
Yeah, we spoke about this last week, and we spoke about it also in previous episodes of this show. And my takeaway from .NET Aspire is it is ambitious, and I wish it well, and I hope it continues to grow. And but I would say just keep an eye on it right now. Don't bet the farm on it right now.
Yeah, I mean
And
it is
that
in
if
preview,
yes,
so yeah, place your bets safely. Um, More .NET stuff. This is another Sands of Maui issue from Sam Basu. Sam does a phenomenal job with the Maui space. So .NET Maui, he
share
kind of
your window.
collects. Um,
There
he kind of collects all of the articles and things. It's basically this show, but in written format and just for Maui. Um, that made a good comparison, I hope. So he's talking about .NET 8 and the big webinar that we're planning, uh, or that we did, and we're planning another one, by the way. Um, and he has great articles about how to do different things in Maui, different news points, and I think he even covered. I thought he had it in here. He doesn't have it in here. I have to talk to Sam. He did post our webinar in here, but I thought he was going to mention the show that I did last week or yesterday. So last weekend, yesterday actually. So I've been covering .NET MAUI on Code It Live here on my own show, but from John's favorite point of view, that's VR.
Whatever.
I've been working with the tools from Meta using the Quest 3 along with .NET MAUI to see if I can publish an app in the 2D space to the headset to be used in an augmented reality interface. It works pretty well so far, John.
Pretty
So
well.
I've been playing with this. No, I mean it works flawlessly. It for demos. So
Who
I'll
are you trying to
preface
convince
this
here,
by
me or
saying
you?
I've only done like hello world demos, so I can publish, static, applications, maybe a button
Sure.
click with account,
Sure.
display some data, that sort of thing. But I haven't like written a full scale application and tried to deploy it. So, it's kind of like the .NET Aspire stuff, like take it with a grain of salt here. But what's really cool is some of the interactions that you get from the Quest controllers when you're in the app. And the ability to actually like put the headset on and develop an app for the headset without taking it off. You can jump straight into Visual Studio with it on, and the screens are brilliant. They're nice high resolution screens. They're virtual, but you can read them. No screen door effect, none of that garbage. And I had a demo working where I had one code base, John, the application running in the Quest on the Quest's browser, the same application running natively on the Quest, and the same application from the same code base running natively on my device. And I could see all three of them at the same time because two of them are augmented and one is physical inside of, the view. So that's where things are headed there.
No, they're
We'll
not.
we'll play more with that next
They're not
week.
headed. They're not headed anywhere in that direction.
You should
Trust me.
join me for one of these shows,
No.
John. I think
No.
that's what we really need here.
Just
You
have
should
obey written
absolutely,
across your forehead. You're just such a VR AR junkie.
you should absolutely join me for a Blazer Power Hour, John.
I'm good.
Yeah,
Thank
maybe
you. I am good.
maybe we can find somebody to loan you a VR headset from down under, and
Can you imagine converting me, of all people?
it'll happen
Yeah.
eventually. We'll get this
Yeah.
to happen, John.
Look,
Um,
we mentioned Tesla at the beginning of the top end of the show about
mhm.
electricity, charging EVs. I was going to say this. It's the same problem we have with headsets. It's the same problem we have with devices. It's the same problem we have with mobile. It's the same problem we have everywhere. Batteries, capacitors, conductance, all these things. These are hard problems to solve. And until we solve them, this utopian
Yeah.
world that you keep outlining is not going to happen. Because I don't want it, these glasses need to be lightweight or even integrated under people's skin, for example, in order to get to the level of adoption you're talking about.
Yeah, I probably should have queued this up for the show. I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick. But folks are starting to get a hold of the Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah.
Um, I still don't understand this device at all. Who
What's
it's
not to
for,
understand? This is like $3.5 grand paperweight US, so
very expensive, pretty useless from what I can tell. Like people are getting it and they're like, yeah, there's like 350 apps or something that they promised in the App Store. All of them are 2D. Like there's no 3D stuff. And it's all like, I can play this game on my phone, my iPhone, or I can play it in 2D on the headset. It doesn't make sense. But I was trying to find is a comparison somebody was doing on Twitter. I can't find it, so we'll just chat about it. With the headsets, they put them side by side, the Quest 3 and the Vision Pro, and they're like, look, they're the same thickness and about the same weight. And it's like, yeah, that's true, but the Quest 3 has the entire battery inside of it, and the Apple Pro does not. Like the Apple Pro's battery is external and it's in your back pocket, I guess.
Yep.
So you're right, John. It is a problem. The battery is a big problem. So lower powered electronics is the only way to get us out of that.
Or
I
we
don't
need
think
a quantum leap in battery technology
that won't kill us.
that won't
That's what I
explode.
always
Yes.
preface. Like it has to be safe, and so far we've been okay with safe. But like, for example, if I take this with me, I can't put it in my my stowaway luggage. Like it has to go on my carry-on. Like it has a lithium-ion battery in it, and
Yeah.
they don't let you ship those under the plane. That's how
Yeah.
unsafe they are. So if they come up with a smaller battery, you're still probably going to have that problem. At least it'll be lighter to carry, but if something goes wrong with it, like you're probably going to be burnt to a cinder.
Yeah. Like I'm old enough to remember back in the day when VCR camcorders first came out, and everyone would have on their shoulder this massive camcorder, VHS camcorder, and then strapped to their shoulder, the other shoulder, was a bag, and inside that bag was a combination battery plus tape cassette. That's the world we're living in right now with VR AR. So I don't see that changing anytime soon until we can improve battery technology, and that's not going to happen unless we have some massive innovations. We need to invest heavily R&D into battery technology. Like we really need to solve this problem because the spillover from improving batteries, it will be huge. Like we talked about Tesla, we talked about EVs, like the ramifications just for that industry alone will be massive because as you know, there's a huge number of batteries in EVs. So, I think we need a quantum leap. We need a Manhattan project for batteries, I think, before we move forward with this great new world that you keep telling me about. So,
Yeah, I'm going to take a moment to dunk on the Vision Pro one more time. This whole spatial computing like moniker they're trying to use with it. Have you heard about this? Like they sent out a memo to developers, and they're like, you're not going to call your games and apps like mini golf VR. It's spatial. Like it's not a VR app. It's a spatial app now. Just so you know, we're rebranding for you.
well, you own the brand, you own the basically you own the marketplace that way. So,
Okay. Here's a fun experiment that I think many of you should try is go to your non-techie friends, write the word on a piece of paper, spatial, just write it. Ask them to pronounce it. I guarantee you most of them are going to get it wrong. I tried this tried this already. 3 out of 3 people could not pronounce it. There was
how would they pronounce
spatal,
them?
spatial. Yeah, like people don't know this word. It's not a familiar word to most people. It's kind of a weird enunciation too, or pronunciation. So people get it wrong. They don't know what the hell it means. They honestly don't know what it means even when you say it correctly to them. They're like, yeah, I don't know what that is. Give it a
It's
try.
it's Silicon Valley solutions to Main Street problems, or
Yeah, I
other way
think,
around. Yeah.
I mean, they shopped that word around like people in the know. They did not do any customer research on this thing. Like people are going to be butchering that for quite some time. Yeah. So yeah, give it a try. Let me know what you find out. See if the people you asked are is good with
You
it.
can see the guy in like small town America. Spatial. What the hell is spatial? It's the worst
Yeah,
accent I've ever, worst impression I've ever done.
I'm
Just
insulted.
yes.
You've triggered me. I feel
All right.
we're coming from Louisville, Kentucky, where we don't enunciate part of words like Louisville is Louisville. I definitely feel hurt, John.
All
Feel
right.
targeted. I expect a full page apology letter tomorrow.
You'll be waiting a while.
The the people that are on the fringe of technology are enjoying themselves, even if nobody else is watching. Like, I'm doing the Elaine dance. You know what I mean? doing
Sure.
the Elaine dance, having a
Okay.
blast, and you can make fun of me all you want, but I'm having a good time, darn it. All right, take care, folks, and we'll see you
All
soon.
right.